Huh?
That's my birthday.
All right, well, I will call this school board meeting for February 23rd of 2026 to order. We're a little late getting going here. It's 6:08. Would you call roll, please?
Kara Taylor.
Here via Zoom.
I'm here. Over Zoom.
Craig McClure.
Here.
Rachel McWhirter. Here. Craig Benelli.
Here.
Tim Hunter.
Present. Okay. Hang on a second. Pledge. Yep. So we have our student representative, Greta, lead us in the pledge.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, I would remind our audience that this is a meeting of the board held in public, and if you want to have a sidebar conversation, please take it out into the hallway and have your cell phones off or on silent, and that's about it. So I need a motion for approval of our agenda. Yeah, let's just take that off the agenda for tonight.
I'm fine.
I move that we approve the agenda for items 1 through 14 and table item 15 for tonight.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the agenda? Call the question, please.
Kara Taylor.
Aye.
Craig McClure.
Aye.
Rachel McWhirter.
Aye.
Craig Benelli.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye. And the motion carries unanimously. Is there any particular board recognition for this session?
Does anybody have any to share? I have one to share.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that we have more students heading off to state, or they're coming back from state, so I want to make sure we have 2 students go to state for wrestling. It was Tracer White. Tracer White, and then is it Emma? Or is it
Ellie.
Ellie, thank you. Ellie, what's Ellie's last name?
Cooey.
Cooey, thank you. So both of those went to state for wrestling, and then we had members of our knowledgeable team, I think for the first time ever, who have qualified for state, and will be heading there in maybe a month or 2. So just wanted to recognize the students heading off to state competitions.
Okay. Do we have anybody signed up for public participation?
No, sir.
All right, and seeing none, we will move on to reports for the Board of Education. Student voice.
Well, last time we shared, that we have a bunch of responses from the students, and right now, me and Greta are working on making another form to submit where the students can rank the most popular suggestions individually, like 1 through 5, on which is most wanted, and I'm going to try to talk to the teachers to make sure all of them try to get every student to do it, so it's more like a whole school rating on each particular suggestion.
Cool. And what's your timeline?
I think we can have that we can have it done by this week if we want.
So by spring break, and then let us know by
The next board meeting.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for our student reps? Okay. District Accountability Committee.
All right, so we had our DAC meeting last Tuesday, and the topic of the meeting was on wellness, and it was really focused on student wellness. Molly and Josh Gardner came in and presented on behalf of, I think they're called the behavioral teams, because not everyone was there, but that includes Brad and Megan Higginbotham, Laura McNeil, Molly, Josh, Effie, who are all working together collaboratively to really work on developing a system around wellness and around behaviors and referrals and that sort of thing. They went over their tier levels of proactive approaches versus discipline or referrals, and then what that referral scenario looks like. They shared some challenges with us, and one of those challenges is that the district is not very aligned with the social emotional learning in the curriculum throughout the district, and so that's one of the goals that the DAC was very in support of, is aligning the SEL curriculum starting in the pre-K over at the Early Learning Center through the high school. So that if a family comes in the pre-K, then if there's an issue in middle school, it's not how it's being approached and the language being used to discuss it isn't a surprise. That's one example, but making sure there's alignment across. And so one of the recommendations that the DAC has for the board is to make sure to build in with the budget money to support building these systems and having SEL curriculum that aligns throughout the district. That's one thing that we hope the board can do. And these systems are being built right now. Some of us know that Josh Gardner has been working on incorporating the restorative justice practices for a few years now. He's getting more comfortable and feeling better about that. But what we need is a system that's in place so that when Josh leaves, when Laura leaves, when Audrey leaves, that whoever comes in to fill their shoes can do so relatively quickly and efficiently. And it would help the students of the district, we feel, as best we can. Some other things that came out of our DAC meeting was a culture building. It's one of these proactive ways to prevent problematic behaviors. And one thing that came up was mentor programs, kind of a thing. So Adam Martinez, who's our student DAC representative, he talked about how he remembered a buddy program with high school aged kids coming into the elementary school. Our understanding is now that the big J's come from the middle school and go over to the elementary school. But as a student, he thought that was really powerful and he loved doing it as an older student, being a mentor. So the DAC is really encouraging development of those opportunities across the district, not just high schoolers helping out elementary schoolers, but maybe high schooler mentoring middle school mentoring elementary, and then elementary mentoring down at the pre-K. There's some of that happening, but if there were opportunities along the way, that seems like a really great way to get the students engaged in the culture with the school and building the culture and being supportive of one another. Especially if they're sharing things that they learned and just enriching their experience as mentors. So, and then let's see, way down here. And then one of the other biggest things is around communication and communicating opportunities and processes and resources, not just with parents, but also with students. So making sure that students know that there are safe adults in this district to come and talk to, no matter what the issue is. That they shouldn't be scared about social repercussions of coming to talk to someone, and that they should feel safe. We know Some of us know that Laura's store is open, that Brad and Megan Higginbotham's stores are open, that Molly's store is open, but not everybody knows that. And making sure that folks know that we have safe people here to talk to, but also that families can also come to these people if their student is expressing concerns with them. So there's a lot of work being done that we were excited to hear about and glad to hear about, but there's definitely some gaps. So one thing that's on Audrey's plate and the leadership of the school is figuring out how to create these programs and allot time to it. But if they have the support from the board with the resources financially, we think they can get there. And then coming up, we want to hear more about the phone and technology policy, making sure we know what it is, and then also how do smartwatches fit in there? Are we at a final place with that policy? Some other things, where are we at with the SRO committee and the MOU with the town? And then another thing that came up was facility use after school, and some concern there that younger kids are getting scheduled for practices after older kids. And is there a possibility for some change there? And then we got our next meeting coming up on March 10th, and we're going to talk about academic achievement and outcome and accountability, and we're also going to dedicate 10 to 15 minutes for open discussion about qualities we'd like to see in a new secondary principal.
Okay.
I think that's most of it.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
With the buddy system program that Adam was talking about, we've been talking about that in the Student Alliance as well. And we're trying to create like a weekly spark so that we can implement that more. And we're also planning like a week that you can see up there. And we're trying to like bring that school community feeling.
Good job, you
So
guys.
we're working on it.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on, strategic plan objective report. We had a very good presentation during our work session regarding the wellness and behavior rubric that we were looking at. Do you want to do any highlights on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's just the nice connection between what the DAC discussed. They saw the similar presentation, what came out of the DAC in terms of what Sarah just shared. I don't know if Molly and Laura, you want to add any final thoughts, or just having listened to Sarah, any recommendations that you have to the board, or what you want them to be keeping their eyes on? Give you we finished up real fast, and I didn't know if you wanted to close out on anything there.
Yeah, I think Sarah covered a lot of it thoroughly, but yeah, a lot of the work is aligning our systems and structures to support the health of our community so that students can engage in our learning, and we're really working to do that through some, clarity, solid expectations, and having things align and be consistent. And that helps everyone. So I think, as she mentioned, that for curricula, fiscal support for curricula, and there may be work on looking at policy work in the future to ensure that it all is cohesive within the processes and then what we're doing. So,
I would just add, I'll speak a little bit to some of the structures in the superintendent report that we're putting into place for next year to make sure that a lot of what Greta just talked about, that the Student Alliance is working on, the things that the DAC is responding to, and how that we can build in our structures to support it as well. Time, I think Craig mentioned it in our discussion, that this work is as important and foundational to having a really healthy community and students who are ready to learn and learn together, and lifelong skills around communication, wellness, well-being, self-regulation. It's really important work, and excited that our DAC was so responsive and excited about the work, this team as well. One thing I always want to highlight when we talk about restorative classrooms and restorative practices is one of the key elements of those practices is the discussion and conversation and the storytelling that goes on in that, and that is building empathy with our kids and with each other and an understanding of others' perspectives. And the more that kids do that, even when they're practicing it in a way that might feel repetitive, you know, kids will learn how to do it and you'll see them kind of going through the motions, but that's brain training and around how to ask the right questions to understand others and to avoid big messy conflicts and be able to handle things at a really relational level, so it's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you for a great presentation. It was very comprehensive, and I'm encouraged about what's going on with that. Family Connection Night is another thing that relates to that. That's March 11th, a Wednesday night from 4:30 to 7:30 at the elementary school, engaging workshop for parents and caregivers and activities for kids, and a free family dinner, and there will be childcare.
Yeah.
So that's all posted on the website. If you need any more information, if you want to talk any more about that.
I don't know, do you, Molly, want to just shout out some of the different sessions that parents can go to and what their kids might be doing while they're doing it?
Yes, so we have sessions on perfectionism and anxiety, emotional regulation, talking with your kids about hard things, and this is stuff for middle school, high school. We have how to parent restoratively. We have the impact of screen time and attention spans. So we have over 10 different hosts and presenters, so we're pretty excited to kick this off.
That would
Yeah.
be great.
And there's things for kids to do while parents go to sessions, and so.
So our PTA is doing an interactive activity with kids and kind of a STEM activity, and there's a lot of different folks that are helping out, so it's been a big group effort.
Great. That would be pretty interesting.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Speaking of PTA, we have PTA has a March 3rd meeting, is that correct?
March 3rd, PTA, yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure to get that out there to the public. They can always use more participation in PTA.
Although I should have shouted out their fantastic first or annual or resurgence of a family moving night.
Oh, yeah.
That was
yeah.
well attended. Oh, it's in my superintendent report as well, but go PTA.
All right. Kira, do you have an LRAC report?
I do. Can you see me?
Yes.
All right. I'm the big head. Yeah, so there's been just probably a lot of, as you probably know, a lot of conversation about balancing the state budget still. And one thing that was discussed at the Joint Budget Committee was the HB 24-1448, that new public school finance formula, which was passed in 2024. There's concerns about how we're going to afford that as a state, projections that it would create a state deficit if we continue as written. And there is language built in the bill that could trigger a pause in that formula if certain conditions are met. And the Joint Budget Committee is just having a conversation about that right now, what that could look like, there was conversations around the budget stabilization factor coming back. I don't know if that'd be long-term or temporary, or just pausing it and discussing a new schedule for implementation. So there's kind of two different directions that this could go in. Nothing has been decided yet. This is just a discussion at this moment. But there's also a potential new bill. It hasn't been introduced yet, but it's trying to just increase general K through 12 funding, which could help make up for some of the issues with the new formula. And it would do a minimum 2% increase spending every year for the next 10 years. And it would be paid for through debrucing, which is essentially exempting the school budget from Tabor law for that time period. So that's going to be introduced. Keep an eye out for it. I'll let you guys know when it's on the table. And something else to consider. People are just trying to figure out how to keep schools funded and balance our state budget right now. There's a new bill HB 261094, which would create a superintendent council to consult with and make recommendations to the CDE on policy. The CDE has historically not been like a lobby organization, but they've been more active in what they're for and against at the state level. And I think that kind of the political response has been, let's get more feedback from schools. So that's potentially going to happen. And LRAC took a position of support on that bill at our last meeting. Also a new bill, SB 26103, addressing it requires schools to adopt a policy and publish a report about how at-risk student funds are allocated. So basically, it requires schools to adopt a policy that direct additional resources and supports towards at-risk public school students. It seems like there's still maybe some discussion about what that would look like, but
Kara, was there any discussion about how they plan to fund that bill?
yeah, I was curious about that too, and I was scouring the bill, and it seems like that is it does not mention funding. So
Another unfunded mandate.
yeah, so maybe that's gonna be added or changed as the bill progresses, but right now there's no funding mentioned.
Was there any discussion on likelihood of success of that bill, or is it just someone floating something?
It's just getting started, so yeah, I'll keep you posted though. I think if I have anything more I could add on that one, yeah. And then I'm going to be attending a AI policy best practices seminar through the National School Board Association tomorrow. And I'll give you guys a report on what that's all about. There's just been a lot of interest at the federal and state level on AI policy. So just kind of curious what people are thinking at the federal level. And then there's been a new mandate called constitutionally protected prayer and religious expression in public elementary and secondary schools from the federal level. This is another mandate that's sort of not super clear, but I think the intention is that it's aiming to clarify legal standards and to emphasize that schools are not religion-free zones and must allow for voluntary personal religious expression, with the caveat that staff cannot encourage, require, or coerce each other or students into any kind of participation or expression. And there are a bunch of details around that, and if anybody has interest, I can let you know more. I think that's all I've got for you right now.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Kara? All right, well, thank you. Appreciate you keeping on top of that stuff and keeping us informed as well. That's there's a lot of stuff out there floating about. Any CASB report? Kara, did you have a CASB report as well?
I don't have a CASB report.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, linkage. I did meet with Mancos Valley Resources as far as linkage. We talked about the school a bit and what's going on at our annual meeting. That's all I can report on linkage. Does anybody have any other insights on what's happening on linkage?
Well, I think we might want to mention just the work session we had with the town trustees. So I don't know if anyone wants to speak to that, but that on February 6th.
On the 6th, we had, at our work session, we did meet with the town town trustees, discussed collaboration, cooperation, discussed public space use to try and do joint things with public spaces between the school and the town. We did not get into the SRO issue, that's still to be worked out. We have an MOU, they do not have that position filled yet, and that's up to the town. It was a pretty good meeting, we had pretty good discussions, pretty good talk. Anybody want to give any of their insights into
Yeah,
what?
I thought at the end of the meeting, the kind of the takeaway was that we would come back at some point with shared goals. Who's trying to do what, so we can see where the collaboration is naturally going to happen.
I think it was also a chance for us to continue building that relationship with the town so that they're, so that we both understand as board and as, well, I guess between boards, what each of our activities are up to and how they might affect each other. I think that was important that we had to continue, we had the conversation of continuing that interaction as well.
One thing we talked about, and I want to ask Greta and Rhett about it, was they also want to get the student board trustee member on the town going, and we were talking about how to align it where when we put out the interest to students, maybe aligning that all at the same time so that students could say, I'm interested in being on the town trustees as a student rep, the school board or the DAC, or then potentially other kind of student leadership positions, doing that all at the same time, so there was more of a kind of a common interest statement from students, and they, you could tick like which boxes you were interested in, and so that we could make that easier on students and maybe easier on us. Just any thoughts on how you would want that to go down if you were a student now that you're on the other side of it?
I think just addressing it in advisory and making each, like send out a little presentation or something that each teacher can present, because that's a class that everyone has to attend, and like they won't just miss an email because half the students don't check their email. So I think just making it sure it's like in front of everyone's faces and everyone gets to see it would be the best way to put that out there.
And then once you do that, I think also having like a Google form would be a good idea.
Students like it, do it that way.
Get people excited about it. Don't be like, oh, you have to go on the board. Or like, you go to the town hall and then like.
Nothing like a Google form to create excitement.
I know, right?
Live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Make it more exciting.
Say you have to move.
Thank
good
you.
ideas though.
Do you think having it all at one time would be better for students rather than like some, so that, I
Yeah.
just think it'd be an easier way to gather. I did follow up with Heather Alvarez after the meeting. She was out of town for the meeting. And we put some placeholders on some dates in about 5-6 months. Their trustees renews in April, was it? So that would give them some time, bring those shared goals, and maybe identify 1 or 2 projects that the town and board want to work on together.
Great.
So
Excellent.
Good deal.
that are supportive of students and families.
Okay. OC's report.
So
Always exciting.
Always exciting. Couple things. We talked extensively with the auditors. We actually had a good audit. It was, we looked at a couple things that we cleaned up from the last time. Mostly we were using QuickBooks, and in QuickBooks, if you don't have your chart of accounts set up, it's not going to, and Christy knows this, it's not going to merge over into the state system at all. And so last year Scotty really struggled with that, and so this year, he was a little behind, which is why we were right up until we actually have a meeting on Wednesday to finalize everything. But they're actually looking at a new software, and the company was throwing out a whole bunch of different ideas, and they said APTA is really out of date. So that might be something that we need to think about in the next 5 to 10 years, is potentially a financial software.
They're expensive.
They're extremely expensive. So BOCE is going to be starting to go through that for...
Well, they have other versions too that they've
Right.
been updating, so I
Right.
mean, we could upgrade just newer versions it seems to work okay.
It seems to work okay, and as long as Chris is doing it, he knows it, and
He
it works
knows
really
it.
well with that too. The BOCES, we're using, an auditor out of, somewhere else, so yeah, they said absolutely not apt to, if you're gonna find somebody else, go with, they had several others, but yeah, that was just interesting, cause, you know,
Well-
2 or 3 of us were like, oh, we use Apta, they're like, no, do not go with that.
Well, gosh, yeah, because I mean, there's a bunch of us that do it.
Yeah, Dove Creek.
Yep, Dove Creek, Dolores, us, Ignacio, and I think Bayfield.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
eventually, there's other ones
It probably
that
does need to be
we
upgraded at
could-
some point.
think about in your long-term plan. We're also gonna do the executive director evaluation on Wednesday as well. At our April meeting, we're gonna be going more in depth on our local assessment and then all things budget to go into that. A couple things to look at for that. They give us some pupil counts. So across all of our BOCES, our pupil count from everything for BOCES is a year behind. So the 24-25 year, between that and the 25-26 year, they were down 350 kids across the whole thing, which is a 4.7% decrease. And then the special education count went down 47 students, which is a 4.18. So it's actually decreasing slower than our student count. So we are still having we're having a larger impact of our special education students and more special education dollars, which we're not getting from state and federal, is impacting our budgets higher than the decreasing kids we're getting. So that's also fun, more budget. It was a really fun budget meeting. Yay.
Not enough money.
I know, nobody has any money.
Which is this.
So that's what our April one's looking at. Royce has offered to come in and talk any type of BOCES, anything, any special education to the board if we would like her to. So that's something if the board wants to kind of go more deep into depth, they can give kind of actual numbers for Memphis that I don't feel comfortable because I don't know all of it, so. But we can talk about that at our retreat as well.
Any
That's all I got.
questions?
No, I would just add that they're looking at a variety of funding models, or not funding,
Local assessment.
local assessment models that they're presenting to our superintendent's group, different ways of looking at how they charge different districts. Right now, it's kind of more of a flat rate, and so we'll be discussing that on Wednesday as well. And in general, the different models don't make us go sits right in the middle. I can say that, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
debating.
None of them are really affecting Mancus as much. Some of the districts are really changing, but of the,
More descriptive.
basically of all of BOCES, the only thing that we do is the administrative cost. So everything that they say is administrative, that's what the local assessment goes to. So it's all the districts. And so I believe 30% of that gets split evenly amongst all the districts. So Cortez plays the same as Silverton for that one, it gets split. And then the other 70% gets split based on your student population. So at that point, Cortez pays way more than Port Level Silverton. But that 30% that gets split, that's what they're now looking at is, okay, that's not really working. Silverton has 7 kids total. We have, 500. Where are we at in this? So we'll see.
I think it's great it's being looked at a more, trying to make it a more,
Yeah, they've had that system for a long time.
what's that?
They've had that system for a long time,
Yeah.
so they do need to update it.
Yeah, and different models from different BOCES across the state, things like that, so. Might have an update on that in the next couple of months.
Okay, great. Moving on, Chrissy. Business manager report.
Well, February is like catch your breath month.
Yeah,
Just
when
gonna
there's not a
say.
mill levy.
You know, we've been working mainly on mill levy stuff. As far as our current budget, we're on track, everything looks fine. We're gearing up to get ready to start really digging into 26, 27. Audrey and I have done a little work, but it's gonna start March, that'll get going. So, just kind of the transition month between those 2 fiscal year budgets. But the mill levy's been a lot of work, but I have to say Alice has been handling a lot of that since she's gonna be living that next year. That girl's been pumping out some scenarios like crazy, which is good. And I think we'll be presenting those to you March 2nd, next Monday, actually. Is that Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think you'll be very surprised at what we've come up with. But it's been a lot of work doing that, so that's kind of what we've been working on. But as far as our budgets, there's nothing really to report. Everything's okay.
Yeah, I'll just, the committee has been working really hard and collaboratively on it and digging deep into understanding it and trying different models in different ways and really trying to stick to the goals of the ballot language around recruiting, attracting and retaining all staff. And so I've been very impressed with the committee and
It's a good group.
this week, tomorrow we have more, not tomorrow, Wednesday,
Yep.
much more refined drafts to look at, so we'll be able to present revisions of that to y'all to look at.
Regarding the levy,
Mm-hmm.
tax bills are going out, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
So do we
Oh,
need,
I actually,
do
yeah,
we
I
need a
actually need to say on that.
re-education campaign, like just tell people?
A little bit, there's an article, I'll send it to you all as well, I've been meaning to send it to, there's a couple different groups, I'll send it to all the groups that I know. There's an article in the Colorado Sun about it, so that the increase in the tax bills, and I haven't seen the tax bills because I'm not a homeowner, I'm a renter right now. And so, but I know they've gone up, I do know they've gone up, but that's not all in relation to the mill levy. And there's a big article in the Colorado Sun, it's across the state, it has to do with some adjustments and balancing that the state has decided to do this year. I'm not gonna speak any more to it other than it's a great article, I'll share it. It went out last week in the Colorado Sun, I don't know if any of you saw it. But it's really descriptive of that, and one thing that it did say in that article is, and don't quote me on this, but that they could, it doesn't mean it's a forever, like they can decide to make adjustments on it, but it has to do some with more at the state level than what the mill actually is generating from tax bills. So I think that's probably would be worth those of you with property wants to be able to, I wonder if we can do some work on identifying that, no, this is not all the mill levy. This is a bigger move at the state level. And it's like across the state, everybody's looking at their tax bills, so.
Okay,
And we didn't know that was coming through. No one other than knew that was coming through.
well, that leads right into your report.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just hit the highlights of my superintendent report. I think the beginning of the report really connects, Friday was a fun day. We did a snow day, staff day, which meant we did everything virtually. So we went to virtual staff day on Friday because it was, as you all knew what was going on Friday, we weren't driving staff in, but we all jumped on a virtual meeting at 8 a.m. and one of the key components to that day was launching the idea of a crew structure in Mancus schools, which is a form of advisory, but it's got more to it. It's got a little bit more meat on the bones, as you might say. It's focused on building a strong community, having an embedded SEL curriculum, targeted time for academic advisement, reflection, and goal setting, and really just building that, like to some of the ideas, building those cross grade level connections. We're gonna call it crew, it's a crew structure, you hear it at other schools, it's a term that's used because it's a way of being when you think about crew, and it's also a structure within the day. So the reason we launched it now to really officially start in the fall is that we need to build it into the schedules. So at high school it will be built within the advisory schedule, but advisory will start to look a little bit different to make sure that it has these elements and structures in it, really of relationship building, all of the things. But it also can act like at that very core level, that's where you find that trusted adult, that there's a point person for every student. At the elementary level, it's built into the beginning of the day, so kids start their day in a circle together, building that connection, and that's happening systematically and intentionally. So that was really fun. We started out with our own crew, which was fun. I put a picture in there, which one of the crew groups was challenged, and so Mary was on that group and sent everybody out to like go do something in the snow and take their pictures, which was a lot of fun for staff. So some joy happening there for our staff. But there's elements of crew mentioned there in the crew launch section around that healthy community goal, but it's similar. So I think the two big components connected to the strategic plan that we want to have in full play next year are the crew structure and an instructional model. So we launched the instructional model 2 weeks ago around building that, having a strong draft of an instructional model that's across the district, and then the crew structure. So that's exciting, and that directly connects to what you heard in those presentations, and that becomes the vessel for things happening. A couple other highlights there around the continuing to train our staff, and this one was really focused on our staff learning strategies on how to manage fatigue, especially compassion fatigue, and so that also connects to what we were talking about. So they met with Dodie Shepherd virtually on Friday morning to do more work around that, and there's my family moving and shout out. So it's a couple of the highlights from building our healthy community. Engaging learning, I wrote, that was the other thing I wanted to highlight around the instructional model launch of, we were able to send a group of teachers to an institute in November, and so they spent the majority of February 6th sharing those practices, really strong instructional practices, and then we launched the idea around having a common instructional model. And what is an instructional model? It's something that every teacher, no matter preschool through 12th grade, should be able to look at and see and say, like, this is how we do it in Mancus, this is how we do student-led learning, this is what engagement looks like, this is what, to what Greta was saying around classroom management and practices, this is what all teachers should be doing. It allows us to coach and support teachers, have common language. So we look to have a draft of that done by the end of the year so that when we start in the fall, we can use that for professional development, coaching sessions, all of that. The good news is that we were able, since we were so enthusiastic to send our teachers up to Denver for that 4-day at the last minute with PEBC for that training, they gave us 6 spots in April to send 6 teachers up. That is this is probably at least a $10,000 plus grant to do that for 4-day training. It's a training that puts teachers in classrooms around the Denver area, looking for strategies and building a real deep understanding of best practices around student-centered learning. The other part to that is that Brittany Lang is working with Audion for our, she's our PEBC rep in the area, to start building some of our own classrooms as labs, so that we can start that practice here, that really the teachers sharing practices, creating a place of reflection and growth together. So there's been some great work there.
Would that be 6 other teachers?
6 other teachers, yeah. I mean, maybe Audion will go as a host to kind of help tie and bring all the work together.
But that
So
way we
yeah.
can spread it out.
Yeah, and then we're also working on having site visits built into the spring to other schools in the area that have strong instructional models, and also there are schools in our area that use a crew approach. So getting teachers out, and so that if you can't go to Denver, we can get you over to Silverton or in Durango, or up and around the area that have a lot of these practices in place. So. Just wanted to highlight that at the elementary school, they're still working hard to implement a new mathematics program. It's staying really aligned. They're working with a trainer out of iReady. I think in the next month they'll have more time for feedback and classroom observations in that. So it is no small lift to implement a new curriculum, so they're doing great there. A highlight, I also shared a presentation with you in the superintendent report around the post-secondary and workforce readiness shifts at the state level. CTE lives under that umbrella. Some of the funding is shifting around. It doesn't look to impact us that greatly, that it's just gonna come from different areas at this point, from what I can tell. In that presentation, they didn't have all the answers to it. But they're really focused on, they're calling it the big 3 now. I'll just try to name them. One of them is college credit. the other one is work-based learning, and the third one being industry-recognized credentials, and that all students will graduate. I think Memphis is doing great in this area. We already are probably hitting what they're naming as the state graduation guidelines around that in the next few years, that all students will graduate with like at least one of those. But you can see at Memphis already they're hitting those, but there was a lot of good information there, so just keeping your eyes out on that. We talked a little bit about the mill levy oversight committee, so I don't think we need to have any more. And then huge shout out to Janet. This is really exciting this week. Last week, in the last 2 weeks, we have launched a new hiring recruiting platform so that we are more visible. So we are using a website called School Spring, which is specifically for school-based jobs, and you can like go on the map and then a little bubble shows up over Mancus, and then you can search positions in the area. So if someone's looking for jobs anywhere around us, they will see Mancus jobs showing up. That also pushes out to Indeed. Anywhere else, Janet?
No, it just goes like countrywide, so it's everywhere.
Yeah, and so that's, and we know Cortez and Durango use School Spring, so if they're on for that, they'll see this pop up, so that as a way, Janet has also made it easier to apply, so in, 2 steps in that. One is you can just use a Google form to send us your resume and cover letter and references right off the bat, so if someone's sitting on their phone, they can apply like that, and then if they are gonna be coming in for a full interview, then they can do the full application, and Janet's changing all of those into fillable PDFs, so people don't have to print or try to have a PDF transfer on their computer. So there's a lot of little barriers, there's been a lot of speed bumps towards, 1, people knowing about our jobs, or 2, people being, having the energy to apply to job, or there's people applying for a lot of jobs, and so Janet has really been working hard to reduce those barriers. We'll have a team in Durango on Saturday at their jobs fair. They invite us to their jobs fair, which is great, so we'll have a team there as well. So we're starting to post positions of some of the positions that we know are open, doing dirt to teachers, either retiring or moving on, which is just a chance to say publicly, I think you all know, and the community knows, that James Hughes resigned his position on Friday with the staff, and so all of that is underway as well. I forwarded the board some information that went out to staff. Parents, I think, have been alerted, but parents received an email this afternoon, and I think, did you get an email?
Yep.
And students as well, on how they can be involved in the hiring process on that. So that's been a lot of the work behind the scenes to get ready for hiring and recruiting, and so feeling good about just the way that we can get more candidates to the table. And Janice also put some stars on our website, like the salary schedules are under revision. Stay tuned for more about that. And then I think we talked about the board week and the board retreat coming up on March 8th. So those are the big highlights in the superintendent report. If you have any questions or follow-up.
I'm good. Okay.
I just want to ask the students, again, since I've got you right there, how about that email? It makes sense? Do you feel like you have a way to give input and see different ways? I will be making the rounds to different student groups and hanging out at lunch. Maybe that's another place to catch students. Oh, Greta's probably already responded.
Yeah, I emailed.
Oh, you did? Yeah, it's
Well,
good.
thank you. Anybody else have any questions for our superintendent? Pretty comprehensive, appreciate it. We're not doing any policy review, that's next thing on our agenda, but I would make sure and mention that we're going to be going over that on our retreat, and everybody should have received an email from Tara Kersil regarding a self-evaluation form. Please fill that out as soon as possible, get that back to her so they can put that into the works for our board retreat.
Okay, so you are getting things?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I have not.
Okay.
I'm playing on the other side.
That's, then that leads us on to we do have a resolution.
Me too, it's very exciting. Name,
Capital Reserve Purchase Resolution, go ahead, Craig.
I move that we adopt the following resolution according to Colorado Statute 22-45103. The Board of Education authorizes a fiscal year 26 capital reserve expenditure in the amount of $3,198.09 to Southwest Water and Property Law LLC for legal services to transfer the water rights from the Frank Ditch to the Willis Ditch.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there discussion? I just say this has been an ongoing process that
How'd you get it done?
should have been taken care of, was not. We need to deal with it. It's a legal issue. We need to pay the bill. No other discussion? Call the question.
Kira Taylor,
Aye.
Craig McClure,
Aye.
Rachel McWhirter, Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye. And the motion carries. The bill shall be paid. Anything on the, make a motion for the consent agenda?
I move that we approve 10A, E, and F on the consent agenda. Sorry, those are the only three that are on there.
Right. Okay,
Second?
we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? It consists of our January minutes and staff recommendations and payments, approving the bills. Call the question, please.
Kira Taylor,
Aye.
Craig McClure,
Aye.
Rachel McWhirter, Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye. And the motion carries unanimously. Upcoming calendar obligations, we have our retreat scheduled. I have to pull out my calendar to see what else might be on there.
The family engagement night.
Family engagement night is coming up.
The work session on
Work session.
March 2nd work session will probably be a long one, just with really digging into the mill levy proposal and all of that information, so.
Okay.
I feel like there's something else on that work session, but I'll look at this right now too.
Do we need to notice family engagement night if a bunch of us are going?
It'd be a good idea to go ahead and put that out there.
Kira, were you looking into that one? Are you out there? Well, we can look into that.
Oh, Kira needs
I
to be
didn't-
rebooted for system updates.
Oh no. I didn't hear the initial question. Something about the engagement night, family engagement night?
Now, didn't we put out a blanket community events that the board may be attending at some point in time? I mean,
Kira, the question was, do we need to notice things like the family engagement night if more than 3 of us are going?
What I read, like the way the law states it, we don't need to if it's not related to policy making or decision making, if we're just going socially. Yeah.
How about I
But
just-
that doesn't mean we can't, but I don't think we have to by law.
And are you gonna reach out to legal about that?
Yeah, I'll just
And just ask
I'll
him-
just see what Daryl has to say.
See if Daryl
He's
has
so
a
quick.
blanket,
Great.
a blanket statement that we can put out there for social events that the board might be attending and we're not making any decisions.
I'll get clarity so
Yeah.
that everybody understands it.
Okay. Anything on future agenda items that we need to start looking at? Do they have any input onto that?
I think that the superintendent review would either go to the next meeting on the 16th, so we move that to that meeting.
Yeah.
And the board retreat.
Okay. Is there anything else, anybody needs to bring up? Board debrief, did anyone learn anything new tonight?
I thought that the Molly's presentation was really good. Molly and Laura's, they've come a long way from last year. Last year it was, high school's doing this, elementary's doing this, and nobody had a clue what they were doing in between. So it was really good to have them working together, that way we can get that cohesive system, you know, between the two buildings and get everything going, so. So I thought they were doing, I think the work that they're doing is really good. I do think, as I said, it is a slow work. It's an important work, but it is a slow work, and that is really important, I think, for all of our staff and our parents and our community to know that, you know, it's not an instant, you know, you can't correct the behaviors instantly. And so it can sometimes be very frustrating, but that we need to stick with the system and give it some time.
Okay. Were there any board decisions made that need to be made public that we haven't made public? I don't think so. Anybody know of anything like that? Craig, did we cross into operations tonight?
I don't think we did.
Okay. And I didn't think we heard anything that requires new policy or revision of policy. We will be following up on policy at our board retreat, so we will work on that stuff at that point in time when we put together a schedule for doing policy review. If there's nothing else, does anyone make a motion to?
Did we not approve the calendar? Is it in that list?
It wasn't on
It
here.
was not on it was not on our agenda for tonight.
Should be on the list.
Nope. Do we need to do that? I mean, they're
Well, we
still
can,
in
if
session.
you wanted, I mean, you're still in session, and I think we had it on the work session, it did not get moved to the board meeting calendar, so. It has gone, the calendar committee has approved and reviewed the process and has put it forth to the board.
That would be draft 2.
That would be draft 2.
And we're talking just about the 25, or the 26, 27 calendar, correct?
And
There is a 27, 28 calendar as well,
Is it
yeah.
for both? Okay.
It is for both, it had in
Oh, I
the,
saw both of them
Yeah.
on there. I just
Yeah,
wanted
in the
clarity
notes.
on a motion.
I think there's a pressing need to do it too.
We first have to make a motion to change the agenda, to the agenda, correct?
We don't need to change the agenda. We just need to, I mean, we can make a motion, there could be a motion for approval of business.
I move that we approve calendar draft 2.
For both, our next 2 years.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the approval of the next 2 years' worth of calendar?
I just want to mention that in our discussion of the work session, we did talk about, for that staggered start for the first 2 days, to have, while the high school will be in session, that we're figuring out a plan to do some type of childcare camp something, and some type of meals for younger kids, correct?
we're gonna look at all the options on how to make that a really smooth transition time for families, yeah, agreed. The other thing is that,
Some work days.
there's a few things that we want to get input from the staff on the timing of the conferences, and one set of work days around the holiday, so we confer with our school leadership and staff teams there to just set those dates within the next 2 months, so those will all be there.
Just to keep us out of trouble, can we table that motion and add a motion for an agenda item to do this? Because we're putting something on the agenda that doesn't exist.
I think there's a pressing need to approve this calendar for some administrative stuff. I think
For the high school
Alice,
calendar,
Alice was talking about that.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting we add it to tonight's agenda,
Well,
so
he-
we do this properly.
Yeah, that we should have made the motion first to change the agenda, is what he's saying.
That's fine, that's fine. I don't think it's necessary, but we can do that just as a CYA.
Yeah.
So go ahead, we'll table this.
Okay, so I'll table my motion for a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Move that we modify the agenda, add item 16, which is approval of the 26 to 28 calendar years, and move item adjournment 16 to item 17.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second, any discussion on the agenda change? Call the question, please.
Carrie Taylor,
Aye.
Craig McClure,
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter,
Aye.
Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll reassess the motion for the calendar at this point in time.
Ready to just restate it?
Please restate your motion.
Okay,
It
I
has
move
been-
that
It has been
we,
seconded, but please restate.
cool. I move that we approve the draft 2 of the 26, 27, and 27, 28 calendars.
Okay. The motion was made, the motion has been seconded. We have had discussion. Call the question, please.
Carrie Taylor,
Aye.
Craig McClure,
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter,
Aye.
Craig Benelli,
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye. The motion carries. We have a new calendar.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yep.
We'll get that glitch on the next one.
Okay, anything else anyone wants to add, any other discussion? Then a motion to adjourn?
Second.
And